Good morning, Cotter Kelsey, joining you from afloat wonderful Lake Lanier. I turned 45 about a week and a half ago, so I thought, okay, let's do something people do when they get a significant age to prove to themselves they still got it. So I thought, all right, 5K is something I've always been curious about doing, and wouldn't you know, my Chamber of Commerce, of which I'm more of an ersatz member than, an active participant, sent out an email saying that they were involved in an event at a rock quarry next to Northeast Georgia Hospital. So, all right, that sounds kind of cool. So, I thought, well, if here I am in the business of training people to get better, let's train myself to be able to do this sort of a thing. So, the first thing I did is I got on the treadmill and I went out for a 5K run just to see if I could do it. And I set my speed for 5.5 miles an hour, which for me is kind of towards the upper limit of my jogging gait. And I was able to do it. I was quite happy about that. And then my strategy for training is to get myself up to my running stride, which, I spoke to a friend who's been running for over 2 decades, and he said, yeah, you should definitely run a 5K if you can. So my running stride kicks in at about 9.2 kilometers an hour. I figured, okay, if we're going to do this metric, let's do this metric, right? Makes sense, because if you're being nuanced with running speeds on the treadmill, metric gives you a little more flexibility than miles per hour. So anyway, so I took a day off, and I had some herbs, because within Eastern medicine, the entire thing is really structured upon the principle of yin and yang. And so yang is expending energy, and yin is storing energy, having things ready to go. You could think of it as like your fuel, and yang is the motion of your engine, or the locomotion, as it were. So for my training regime, I'm planning to train the running for a day and take a day off, run, day off, et cetera, right? Because you got to have that yin recovery time. So on that yin recovery time, the best thing to do would be to take herbs, because herbs are a physical substance, which is yin. Acupuncture is an information-based medicine. Information is more of a yang. It is insubstantial, whereas herbs are quite substantial. It's something physically you pick up. What acupuncture needles are doing, you're not going to weigh that. So anyway, I gave myself a custom formula from my little pharmacy. I used eucalyptus bark, which is to nourish the yin of the lumbar, because with the running, everything is being rooted in the lumbar. And more about the running form from a non-expert. I know you'd be dying to hear that, right? This guy never runs. Let's see what he's got to say about running. Yeah, that's the kind of morning it's going to be. So anyway, eucalyptus bark to nourish the lumbar, and then there was Corydalis, which is just phenomenal for pain control, recovery of muscles. In Eastern medicine, we say it is a big chi mover. The reason it is able to deal with pain and reduce inflammation is because it moves the chi. And when you are exercising muscles you don't normally use, that next day when you're all sore, that's because the muscles have gone into a bit of protective retraction, or colloquially call it a spasm. This is why it's so important to stretch after exercising, because it eases the muscles out of their protective spasm state. And again, when we're exercising, we want to be after a yang exercise with a lot of exertion, our stretch should be very, very yin. We don't want to try to break a record for flexibility or get new angles in our joints that aren't normally there. So we be very, very gentle. Yin gentle, yang not so much. So a gentle stretch. And again, when you're stretching out your hamstrings, the important thing is that you're stretching your hamstrings. You don't really care about bending your lumbar spine. So don't try to touch your toes. Try to extend your hamstrings and your calves, because that is what you're going to be using as your shock absorber while you are running, at least with the style of running that I'm going to be doing, which is from the barefoot school, though I will be wearing my trusty Adidas Sambas here. With the barefoot strike, it is the ball of the foot that hits the ground and not the heel. The heel actually does not make contact. What this does is it puts the impact into your hamstrings and your calves and your glutes, rather than jamming into your knees and your hips. And there's a nice way you can take that force coming into the hamstrings, calves, and glutes and turn that into your stride. So the impact will wind up actually fueling you. But again, here's a total neophyte runner giving all y'all runners out there some advice on what you've been doing wrong for 2 or 3 decades. So you're welcome. Anyway, moving on, back to the formula. So Coriolis moves the chi, reduces the inflammation, makes you feel better. I think it gets that static chi, that on the stuck chi moving. And then, of course, there's going to be some ginseng. I'm over the age of 40, and in Eastern medicine, we say it's very important to tonify, to strengthen the body with ginseng once you pass the age of 40. If you're younger than 40, ginseng is not really that important for you. It is more expensive, so if you are trying to augment performance, you can use another herb, which is called Dongshen in Chinese, and of course, the Latin name is escaping me. I'll probably put it up here anyway later. But you should really talk to an herbalist anyway, and they're going to know that the Chinese names. They'll pronounce them just as poorly as me, probably. But anyway, so what this does is it ginseng boosts the primal chi, so all the chi that gets into every aspect of the body. So you can think about this as just a general tonic. It just gives you energy. The other thing ginseng does is that it benefits the lung system, so the lung meridian, the lung organ, and this is of course very important for something like running. And given that I'm not normally doing this, and I'm an old man now, I want to tonify with the ginseng. And so then the other one that made it into the formula is the Carthami flower. So the Carthami flower is really quite interesting because it's a blood mover. So again, this is blood in Chinese medicine, so it's blood with a capital B. It's not the same thing as like a blood thinner, in Western medicine, although it can, thin the blood. So again, you speak to an herbalist to make sure you're not doubling up on medications. But the nice thing about the Carthami flower is when you use it in a low dose, it helps the body build up blood, and the movement of the blood is typically limited to the torso, to the organs in the 3 burners. When you take it in a higher dose, it pushes the herb out to the extremities. So we want to improve circulation in the extremities, basically get the blood moving in the legs to flush out all the crap that's built up there from the exercise. So anyway, that's the basis of the formula that I put together for myself. I threw in the reishi mushroom because that's really, really good for just overall mental wellness, and it has been demonstrated to be good at preventing cancer. And so any excuse you can get to take that, when you're taking herbs, it's a pretty good one. Plus it helps clarify the spirit, and if running is a meditative exercise for you, this actually is a bit of an assistant to that. So it's good. You can kind of augment your mental hygiene with your exercise with herbs as well. And let's see, is there anything else? That's about it. So anyway, those are the herbs from the formula. And then on that running stride, so when the ball of the foot makes contact, you don't just like plop down and have all that energy diffuse. We're going out to catch some fish because you can't fish going slowly from spot to spot. You have to go as quickly as possible. I don't fish, so I don't understand that. I'm sure that there's a reason for it, or it is also fun to let her rip on the on the water, especially when it's all glassy like this. So, squirrel. Anyway, so so the running stride. So the ball of the foot makes contact. The shock absorption in the in the calves and the hamstrings and the glutes will cause the gentle contraction of the glutes, hamstrings, and calves, which will pull that leg back. So you're basically pulling yourself forward when you're running, not exploding off and pressing off that back foot, which you would use your quads for. So the reason for this is because the great yang meridian is the posterior muscle chain. So the great yang of the foot, colloquially known as the bladder, is going up the back of the body. So it's got the calves, the hamstrings, and the glutes. Yang is movement, right? And if you're using the front of the body, that's only the yang brightness. It's the last aspect of yang before it flips over into yin. So if we're moving ourselves and we want to be doing it at a running speed, we want to be using our yang meridians for this, the big yang meridian for this. So enjoy the pull and try to land on the ball of the foot. Don't let the heel make contact, and have your Yang Meridian basically take over. It's not an automatic thing because you have to pay a lot of attention, and form is, most important. You can think of this as like a Tai Chi running. I'm sure runners are happy to correct me, and I don't know how to get corrected, and this day, it's all based on the comments. So I look forward to having my erroneous views, straightened out, and I want to keep you all posted on how this little endeavor goes. All right, cheers. Have a fantastic day.